Now let's do assumptions and conclusions as highly requested. But before we will answer this, let's define first what is assumption and conclusion. When we say assumptions, these are the unstated statement or information needed to be valid for the conclusion to hold true. While yung conclusions, these are made based on the assumptions given, so conclusion needs to agree with the given assumptions. In other words, stated. Para klaro lang, ang Tagalog dito ay palagay. Synonyms, if, pwedeng given. Yan yung assumptions. Kapag sinabing conclusion, yan yung stated or obvious na, siya na yung final. Now, you may try to answer them first bago nyo makita yung explanation or bago nyo mapanood yung explanation natin dito. Let's read this first. But sa actual na exam, read it with your eyes only. Meron tayong parang reading comprehension na rin to. So, i-click nyo yung regarding sa reading comprehension, yung mga tips natin doon at applicable din yun dito. Otherwise, time-consuming kung talagang tutukan mo ito para masagutan lang kung ano ang tama dito. Okay? So, magandang panoorin nyo rin yung reading comprehension kung paano yung mga shortcut or mas madaling sagutan pag marami ng mga babasahin ba. By the way, if this is your first time visiting my channel, paalala lang, yung akin ay pangbahay lang. Now, let's read this. Statement. Ito yung given. In the recently held All-Philippine Nursing Conference, the session on vaccination campaign surprisingly attracted a large number of participants and also received very good media coverage. Assumptions. Media is always very positive towards the service sector. The service sector is managed properly in the Philippines. Meron tayong dito. The people weren't expecting such an encouraging response to the service sector conference. Is it A, yung lahat siya, related dito sa statement natin? Is it letter B, ang related sa statement natin? Is it letter C, assumption 1 and 2, ang related sa statement natin? Is it letter D, assumption 2 and 3, ang related sa statement natin? Or is it 3 only, ang related sa statement natin? In these assumption questions, we have to identify the passage author's assumption and not our own. So, wag tayong masyadong realistic, kundi kung ano lang yung given or yung posibleng result based lang sa given. Uulitin ko ha, in these assumption questions, we have to identify the passage author's assumption, not our own. Dito muna tayo sa quick tips in finding assumptions and conclusions. An assumption is an information not stated. Yan yung assumption in the argument that must be true for the argument's conclusion to hold true. Look for the missing or unstated premise to that makes the conclusion valid. The conclusion must be based on the given premises or premise Check if the answer has a connection with the given assumption. But always take note, the author gives a statement only after assuming something. These some things are dimensions of the questions. That means some basic assumptions are what author definitely believes in. And if some assumption contradicts that basic belief of author, then that assumption can never follow. Next, eliminate, ito na yon, off-topic arguments. If the given choices are not in any way connected with the given statement, eliminate these unrelated answers. Eliminate too broad answers. Next, the correct assumption must connect the evidence to the conclusion. Try to come up with one or several assumptions that underpin the argument. Show that the evidence given is relevant to the conclusion offered. Try to analyze the cause and effect relationship and see if the conclusion resulted because of the circumstances given in the assumption. A typical statement and assumption questions involves stating a statement which is followed by two or more assumptions. And we are supposed to answer which assumptions follows. Uulitin ko dito banda. A typical statement and assumption questions involves stating a statement which is followed by two or more assumptions, and we are supposed to answer which assumptions follows. Again, a typical statement and assumptions questions involves stating a statement which is followed by two or more, 1, 2, 3 dito, assumptions, and we are supposed to answer which assumptions follows this statement. I-delete muna natin ito para klaro pag-explain natin mamaya. Now, statement talks about this session about Philippine Nursing Conference, which got many participants, which were surprising for the author. Also, received very good media coverage. So, good media coverage which was not as usual as per the author. Now, let's see the following assumptions. Dito muna tayo sa assumption number 1. Media is always very positive towards the service sector. This option, ito siya, is tempting to select as an answer because media gave session dito sa vaccination campaign, which is a good coverage, so it's obvious to think that media is always positive towards it. But that's not true, as there is an element of surprise. Asan na yung surprise? Surprise! So, ibig sabihin, nagulat sila. And we don't get surprised for something which happens usually. That means this behavior is new as per the author. So, hindi siya always. So, eliminate na natin itong assumption number 1 natin. Itong assumption number 2. The service sector is managed properly in the Philippines. So, this option seems to be correct kasi na-manage siya properly. Because if a session is organized, then things must have been well taken care of. But that's not correct, as it's not stated anywhere in the sentence, so this is definitely not the author's assumption. Itong assumption number 2 natin. Assumption number 3. People weren't expecting such an encouraging response to the service sector conference. This assumption is indeed true. Since author wasn't expecting such a response, yung public participation plus yung media coverage, then other people too must not have been expecting such encouraging response. Ngayon, sa choices natin, meron tayong yung assumption 1, 2, 3, ba ang nag-follow dito sa statement natin? Mali yan kasi hindi natin yung assumption 1 at assumption 2, wala na yan siya. So, ang hahanapin natin ay yung assumption 3 lang. Itong B, hindi yan. C, hindi. D, at hindi yan siya. Letter E, yan yung 3 only. So, yan yung tamang sagot. Now, we just saw how to solve such assumption questions while following the author's path and avoiding the knowledge that we have. This method might look a bit time-consuming, pero kung sanay kayo sa pagsagot nito, bali, review lang ng review bago yung actual na exam, mas madali nyo nang maintindihan o makuha yung tamang sagot kung paano mag-follow yung from statement at saan dyan sa mga assumptions ang pwedeng i-follow sa statement. And always remember, do not bring your own assumptions about things that are not necessarily common knowledge or may not always be true. Dapat according sa statement lang mismo or according sa given lang mismo.